Over the past couple weeks and days, we've seen a lot of news about Chelsea and their increased interest in Michael Olise. It is looking more and more likely by the day that we will go out and sign him. But who even is Michael Olise? Does he fit in Maresca's system, and is it even worth it to go ahead and buy him? Well, to answer that first question, Michael Olise has usually been used on the right of a front three, whether it's in a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3, or more recently under Glasner, his 3-4-3. For the sake of further on down the video, I'm going to talk about him more when he played on the right of a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, as more of a wide inverted winger. Olise is a creative monster. He gets the ball and his first thought, goal or assist, simple as. And how he does it from this right wing position is honestly marvelous. If you haven't watched him, I don't know what you're doing. You've missed out, bro. Olise's dribbling ability is amongst one of the best in the Premier League. For such a tall player, he can easily glide with the ball past 1, 2, 3 players and get in a shot, cross, pass, whatever. It's probably his main trait, how good he is at dribbling, which as a wide winger in a Maresca system is exactly what you want. Just 1v1 dribbling ability. And it's not like he can only go inside. He is not scared to go down the line, go to the byline and put in a cross in that way. He has done it many times and he is comfortable on his right foot, which you don't see in very many inverted wingers nowadays. Nowadays, a lot of wingers, they're one-footed. You don't see very many two-footed wingers that can go either side of their man, which adds to his unpredictability, adds to him being a force to be reckoned with on the right wing. Another part of his game, not necessarily him, but something that he attracts. He attracts a lot of pressure. If he gets the ball on this side, he will have 2-3 players all swarming him, and that leaves space for someone to collect space here. And who do we have that is able to find space very easily? Cole Palmer. He can find the space here in the inside right position, and Olise will be able to find him. That combination is already in my mind. It's bubbling up, very similar to the Olise and Eze combination. How this Eze-Olise combination would oftentimes work is that they would always be in close proximity to each other, able to fire quick fire balls in between them, you know, and unlock and go around defenders with their sheer like chemistry together. And if Olise were to strike up that similar partnership but with Palmer, we could be seeing very similar results. However, Eze and Palmer are still very different players in their own right. So having that sort of combination, we'll have to see what it's like in the future. We can't really tell what it's going to be like just from watching Olise and Eze play together, you get what I mean? Now, what Olise actually looks for when he's doing his final ball is incredibly varied, as much as his dribbling is. Not only if he cuts inside will he look for a shot, not only will he look for a back post header, he will also look for those reverse passes, like sort of maybe a 9 comes into this sort of space, Olise will find him with the through ball. He will want to do that. That sort of pass requires a lot of vision and a lot of technique. We've seen Palmer be able to do this to some extent, but Olise, in my opinion, does this sort of reverse pass even greater than him. And of course, as I said earlier, Olise is not scared to go around the outside of his man and put in a cross with his right foot. He has done that multiple occasions. We have seen him do that on multiple occasions. However, I will say he will have to improve this. It is definitely good enough, but it can definitely still be improved. His ability to go around the outside and cross down the byline. Now, we spoke about him in possession, and he is very clearly very strong in possession as a winger. However, his defensive ability, his defensive work from the front, it could leave a lot to be desired, especially for a team that wants to possess the ball. Maresca will want to defend from the front. He will want his players to be very intense, and I don't know much about Olise's defensive work. I haven't seen too much about him being the greatest defender. When I watch him, I don't really notice him whenever they're defending, especially his pressing. His pressing leaves a lot to be desired. I don't think I've ever seen the guy press, if I'm being completely honest. But obviously you can coach that in a player. That's just for Crystal Palace. If Maresca gets his hands on him and tells him, yo, big man, I want you to go and press your defenders, he's probably going to do it. You get what I mean? You can teach a player to do more defensive work. It's just that Palace, I haven't seen enough of it. Now, the next question is where he actually fits in an Enzo Maresca system. Very clearly, he fits on the right hand side of the 4. Definitely the most natural position to put him in this team. Like, you're not going to put him right interior because obviously Palmer's going to be there, and Olise fancies his chances on the wing rather than down the middle, I feel like. You can definitely play him here. I mean, we've seen him play there under Oliver Glasner, but he would be much more suited under this Chelsea team on the right hand side. Now, this will allow him to form a great partnership with Cole Palmer there. As I said earlier with Eze, him and Eze's partnership, second to none. And he definitely would be able to form that sort of partnership with Palmer. The only question mark I would have is whether or not Palmer would get in his way every now and then, because obviously Olise does like to sometimes drift into this sort of space, and where does that leave Palmer? Now, there is actually an easy fix to this, as Palmer does like to drop back and receive the ball here. Olise could then slightly make his way into the interior spot, and Palmer could play him, you know, they could have a lot of of combinations. There could be a lot of switching involved with them too. I'm really excited to see what that sort of partnership would entail. Now, earlier I did say that he was an incredible dribbler. It is probably his best aspect. However, 1v1 dribbling is a completely different thing. When you're out alone on the wing like this, you will most likely always be 1v1 with your fullback. You'll never have any like 2v1s or 2v2s, right? You'll most likely be 1v1. Can Olise do this? To a lesser extent, but yeah, I think he can. He can definitely skip past one player at a time. Especially with his height and sheer ball carrying ability, it allows him to simply glide past players, especially with the feints he puts in. He'll be able to wrong foot his defenders and go either side of them. Now, the massive talking point with Michael Olise is his price. It's being said that he'll cost between 60 and 70 million for his services, which is obviously a lot of money to be paying, especially when we've already got Madueke in the club. When you're paying that much for a player, you expect him to be the main player in his position, but with Madueke, it might be in contention. The question is, will Madueke want to play as a second choice right winger? No, probably not. But then that does fuel the competition between them. But we have seen Madueke in the past can be quite childish in the way he goes about things. If he finds out that he will be second choice if Olise comes in, he might throw a hissy fit, you know, he might want to leave the club. That is just speculation on my bit, by the way. There is no article saying that he would. That's just me thinking of Madueke's past and what he could be like if Olise does come in as the main right winger. However, I think everyone could agree that that would be an upgrade, having Olise in instead of Madueke. Because as well as Madueke has performed this season, especially 1v1 duels, which is exactly what Maresca wants in his right winger, his overall game is slightly lacking, especially with his end product. Michael Olise has got a more all-round aspect to his game that Madueke doesn't have. Another question I would have about Olise is his inexperience. I think he's only like 22, 23. And whilst he does have a decent amount of Premier League experience with like 2 years maybe, he does still lack the decision-making ability because of his age. I would still want someone with a lot more experience, whose mind is more suited to playing at a high level. That's not to say that Olise cannot play at this level. He definitely can. He definitely has the ability. I'm just worried that his inexperience might lead him to maybe have to develop more for a year or two before we see the real Olise. That being said, the overall question, would Olise fit at Chelsea? Would it be worth it to pay the 70 million for his services? Gun to my head, if you ask me, would I want Olise at my club for 70 million? I say yes. I think this is a wonderful move. Every transfer is going to have his aspects where you're going to be like, is this really the right choice? And of course, Olise does have some of those aspects. But I genuinely think Olise has got the potential to be worth 100 million in the future. So buying him now when he's worth 70 million might turn out to be a bargain in the future. In the same way that us buying Palmer for 40, 50 million, I forget how much it was, it seemed at the time like it was a stupid buy. Seemed like us just rushing it and paying the big bucks for someone who has a little bit of promise but has not shown it at all. And look how well he's turned out. I think Olise can be a very similar shout to that, just to a higher level. Of course, let me know what you think. Let me know if you would buy Olise for the 70 million pound price tag. Let me know if there's someone else that you'd get. Let me know if you'd stick with Madueke, because honestly, that is a shout. We could just stick with Madueke and I think we'd be just fine. I'm trying to do more long form content in terms of Chelsea in the future, so let me know what other videos you'd like to see from me, because I'm definitely down to do more Chelsea content in the future. See you in the next video, whenever that is.